Greetings. I have been having a blast using the Halo mod tools. I am now editing the campaign maps, and I plan to release an entire campaign pack. All 10 levels will be enhanced, adding to a richer and more gripping campaign experience. This campaign mod will be available for MCC. However, it is meant to be played in a hard-modded or soft-modded original Xbox. Halo CE was the first video game I ever played. Every little corner of it is ethereal and mystifying. While the Halo series has progressed and expanded, I have always felt at home in Halo's big, empty, foggy, faintly humming rooms. It is about much more than blowing up brightly colored onions or military pride. It is a visual experience. It is an auditory experience. And it is a narrative experience. The characters are simple, yet the story is incredibly complex. Halo is a voyage to the vague edges of the human mind, and the questions that linger out there. The build I am using currently has been through Bungie, Gearbox, and 343 Industries. Sapien and Guerrilla are now officially available through Steam by some cosmic miracle, and I am very excited to finally be modding. For well over a decade, I have followed the Halo modding community very closely, even back when it was very small, although I was never able to contribute until now. The first and simplest thing to add is the 2 weapons cut by Bungie and restored by Gearbox: the flamethrower and the fuel rod gun. These are very simple to add into the maps, and they work very well. These are 2 very unique weapons, and it is incredibly fun to use both of them. It also lends to a richer, more textured environment, as well as a more complex balance of equipment, without breaking visual style, and without breaching established lore. Each level of Halo adds new things to the sandbox. Truth and Reconciliation adds hunters and sword elites. Silent Cartographer adds the rocket launcher. Assault on the control room adds the Scorpion, and so on. I wanted to keep that rising complexity, so that at the very final levels of the game, there is so much going on at once, and the fate of the galaxy hangs in the balance. So for this reason I was considering adding the fuel rod gun in the 2 betrayals, and featuring it in the remaining levels of the game. The flamethrower, likewise, will appear in the sandbox starting with the library. Very similar to this is the beloved rocket Warthog. The standard Warthog is featured in Halo, Silent Cartographer, Assault on the Control Room, the 2 Betrayals, and the mod. I have already changed the flipped Warthog in the 2 Betrayals to the Rocket Hog. And, of course, I will make at least 1 Rocket Hog available for the final Warthog run. But I am considering whether or not to add a Rocket Hog to the Silent Cartographer as well. Let me know what you think. Next, the new enemy types. I don't want to make any promises here, but it looks like almost anything is possible, so we will see. One of the best things about Halo is the AI interaction. It was, and still is, revolutionary. These things are smarter than people realize. The fun of Halo is introducing all these different Any and Wheaton types separately, then mixing and matching them in new and interesting ways. I do not have the actor variants yet, but I do plan on adding Grunt Ultras and Elite Ultras. I may possibly give the Grunt Ultras weak shields, as in Halo Reach you had to shoot off their helmet before you could headshot the Ultras. The Elite Ultras do appear in the original Halo CE as dead bodies, but none can be found alive. That is about to change. I also can confirm that I have added the brutes to many levels already. These are the CMT brutes from SPV1, and I absolutely adore them. Stylistically, they fit right into the Halo 1 Covenant. Halo First Strike mentions that brutes were not used before Halo 2, but in Halo Reach, we can see that brutes were indeed part of the Covenant military during the fall of Reach. The brutes are a welcome addition to the campaign, and this one enemy type adds so much variety to combat with the Covenant. While the grunts and elites will generally hold their positions, the brutes will rush you. They don't have shields, but they have a lot of health. The brute are fantastic. I already have some videos featuring them, and there is more to come. I do have files for a fully restored and functional version of the Engineer. That's right, the cut species from Halo CE. A modder named Gallup shared them online, and he says he found files for their blood and behavior, including a behavior where they fall and detonate upon death. This is very similar to the ODST Engineers. However, instead of having a bomb strapped to them, it appears as if they explode naturally through gases and such. Not only that, but they can wield plasma pistols and even plasma rifles. I still don't know if I am going to make them hostile or neutral. My biggest inspiration for this mod is the book Halo: The Flood. CE was the only game in the entire series to get a novelization, and I am using that as my primary source for enriching the environment. Anyway, in First Strike, the Engineer actually helps the Master Chief. I could do something like ODST, where I leave it up to the player to decide. But now that the Engineer can fire its own weapon, it would be a funny and interesting challenge to fight them alongside other Covenant. Let me know what you think. Anyway, I can't get the Engineer actor variants to spawn in Sapin, so we will see. I would love to add drones someday in the future, although I am not quite sure if it is possible. Another enemy faction that needs to be fleshed out is the Sentinels. Now, there are more variety to the Sentinels in other Halo games. Enforcers and Gold Sentinels in Halo 2. Auto turrets in Halo 3. But I am turning my attention more towards the Prometheans. Okay, don't close the video. Hear me out. There is a Sentinel Knight iPad by the Halo modder SOI_7. It has been featured in some AI battles online as well. These knights look like large, unfolded sentinels. It is highly accurate to Bungie's original vision of the Promethean mids. It is more powerful than an elite. but less powerful than a hunter. The model and the sounds fit aesthetically into the Halo brilliantly. Go look them up for reference, because I don't have the files. I messaged SOI7 on Halo Maps, but he hasn't messaged me back yet. I have seen other video creators with the Sentinel Knight AI. Oh, so I hope he will let me use them for my own videos, because I think they are brilliant. Aside from that, I do have functional Sentinel crawlers in the library and to Betrayals, also a creation of Gallop. The crawlers are quite small, about the size of a flood infection form. I may make them larger like they were in Halo 4, but I really like their behavior. It is possible to outrun them and they do very light melee damage, but as sentinels, they have very few weaknesses. Basically the plasma weapons and explosives. And they are fucking annoying, especially when sentinels are beaming you. Although it is amazing to watch these little guys rip through a pack of grunts or even flood. Besides these enemies, I really want the Sentinel faction to play a larger role in the campaign. One of my primary goals with this mod is to flesh out each faction even more. Speaking of flesh, of course we have the Flood. Now, this is before the Gravemind was introduced. This is before the Primordial was introduced or even conceived of. This is the mysterious and unknowable Flood. The Flood, as a concept, forced the Forerunners to wipe out all life. But individually, they are violent, ravenous freaks. This mod has put me in the strange position where it essentially falls upon me to create a Brute Flood variant. I have never worked with 3D models before, but there is a first time for everything. It would be cool to have some more Flood varieties. Maybe the Brute Flood moves slow and hit hard. Maybe they don't carry weapons but they rush faster than the other forms. Or maybe I should make Jackal Flood for that. The future of the Flood is as mysterious as their past, I suppose. Right now, more Flood are being added to the game to cancel out extra Sentinel and Covenant forces. One of the big things I want to do in the last 3 levels is really create this environment of 3 overlapping forces. The Covenant, the Sentinels, and the Flood. You will see more AI battles in this game, while still remaining challenging, but without making it too easy. There will still be plenty of enemies standing in your way. You will just have to be prepared to take them out. Flood force you to have a good human weapon, and the Sentinels require you to have plasma on you. I personally think Halo is at its most fun when you are flipping between weapons, using them in tandem, as you switch targets. Now, as far as new weapons, each weapon is so different in CE, it would be hard to add something to the sandbox that is as different to the Needler, as it is to the shotgun, as it is to the fuel rod, as it is to the Magnum. Each weapon is vastly different and fills a totally different niche. It would be possible to add things like the Brute Plasma Rifle, but not necessary. If I did add any custom weapons, they would be Sentinel weapons. I just might actually add the Sentinel Beam, because it is already a part of the game, and the player can wield it in Halo 2 and 4. And Halo 5, I guess. Something that I would be very interested to add is the bullshot. It is such a unique weapon, and I think people generally like using it. If I balanced it properly, maybe I could do something like the 3-round homing burst from Halo 5, combined with the shotgun charge from Halo 4. The most important thing is the model, the sounds, and the effects. It's got to fit right into Halo CE, and the gameplay would have to be right. Speaking of which, I would like to add some kind of grenade for the knights to use, if I can implement the knights. Ideally something like Halo 5's Promethean grenade. I have no plans of adding either of these weapons, but the Sentinel beam I may include somewhere down the road. I think it would be interesting to add skulls into the game. The oddball is certainly there in the code. But I don't know what kind of reward I could offer the player. I could make some terminals for people who like to read. Or I could reshoot the Halo CE terminals as like in-game cutscenes. Like an optional cutscene filmed in Sapien, using the audio from CEA. I don't know. And I definitely don't know what the brutes will look like in the anniversary graphics. Maybe there is some way to port over the Reach brute models or something. I never play an anniversary anyway. Alright, I'm going to get back to modding. I just wanted to make this video explaining my thought process. Let me know if you have any questions or solutions. Stay tuned, as I will be showcasing my work right here.